So here we're on 1A.3 regression models unit 1A. So you should have gotten, can I see this? So you should have gotten this paper front and back. So the front side is part 2, I'm sorry. And then the back side is part 3. And you're like, oh no, how is this gonna go in my notebook? And I'm like, oh, this is where we learn how to make a pocket. So this is gonna be page 8 in our handy dandy notebook. But we're gonna have to do a little magic with page 8. So we're gonna make a pocket on page 8. I'm gonna model. Austin, I told you we're gonna have to do yours all separately. We're gonna have to do that during tutorials, but we'll fix it. All right, so here's my page 7 where my scatter plot will go. This is my page 8. I'm gonna have to turn page 8 into a pocket because I have a double paged assignment. Does that make sense? To make a pocket, you take what would have been that page and you're gonna turn it and you're gonna fold like you're gonna make it a paper airplane. And you're gonna fold it. So I turn the page. So this was page 8. I now have turned and folded it inward. And I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to make an L line with the glue. So go do, do. And then when I fold it back over, it's going to turn page 8 into a pocket. So this would be my page 8. And now I have a paper that I need to, you'll probably frequently taking in and out. And I can see the front and back. And then you'll just title it what it needs to be titled outside the pocket. Okay? Make sense? So now this is the page 8. The back of it is page 9. So if I give y'all 60 seconds to do that quickly, if you need my help, raise your hand. We can come and walk through it. All right. So now that we have our pockets in place, we're going to go ahead and get started with learning the math that's on the paper that's going in the pocket, right? So what if I have data but no scatter plot? What do I do? Oh no. Guess what? You make it. You're going to use technology to create the scatter plot so that you can analyze the data. Okay. So on the paper that you have, it has our step-by-step instructions of how we're going to create that scatter plot. So if you look right here, one side is a problem that we're going to use and model it with. And then the other side are the steps that we're going to follow. Cool? Okay, so we're going to learn 2 methods. We're going to learn method 1, which is using the TI-84, which is quote unquote the old school method, which is the method I prefer. And then we're going to learn the second method, which is using Desmos, which are the steps are on the back. Okay. All right. So do y'all remember popcorn reading? All right, we're going to popcorn read this out. All right, I will get us started. The National Weather Service uses a chart to determine the wind chill factor at various wind speeds. Pop.
Wind chill is the cooling effect caused by wind blowing on a surface. Pop.
My popcorn's dying. Perfect. You got the long one. Good job. All right. So here's our data. The data is telling us that this is taken when the wind speed is 20 miles per hour, right? So 20 miles per hour isn't part of our data. Does that make sense? It's the time that it was taken. Okay, those were our conditions. So looking at our data, the air temperature, so what we feel outside is 40, and then the wind chill has a factor of 30. So when that wind chill comes in, when it's 40, it feels like 30 degrees. Does that make sense? That's what this table is telling us, okay? So from this table, we're going to identify our independent and dependent variable. So our independent variable would be what's our independent? Air temperature. So our independent is our air temperature, and our dependent is our wind chill factor. Okay? So when that 20 mile per hour wind is coming in, it's knocking down what it really feels like outside. Does that make sense? We've all experienced that chill that hits us real quick, right? So what we're going to do here is determine the equation of the regression line. In order to do this, we have to put this into our calculator and figure it out. So we're going to follow the steps. You can follow the steps along with me, or you can skip ahead and read them on your own. So the steps that we're following are, the first part is to make the scatter plot, okay? So to make the scatter plot, anytime you're about to make a scatter plot on your calculator, because it's not your personal device, you do not know what someone else did, right? So we're going to always reset the calculator by pressing second plus 712. Second plus 712. So I'm going to open up Sylvie. I'm going to turn on Sylvie. I'm going to press second plus 712. Okay, notice it resets. All has been cleared. And now I'm going to begin the steps, okay? Step number 2 is to enter stat editor. And I need to get to stat editor by pressing stat. When we did our scavenger, not our scavenger hunt, you are what you eat. You should have learned that stat is right below the delete sign. Yes? Okay, now we're going to go to the editor, which is edit. And I'm going to input my values. My L1 is typically my independent, and my L2 is typically my dependent. So in this case, our L1 is going to be our air temperature, and our L2 is going to be our wind chill. Okay, so I'm putting in 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, and 15. And we have 30, 24, 17, 11, 4, and -2. Okay. So we have in our values. Next, we're going to go to step 5. Also at step 4, make sure that there's a pair. They're in pairs, right? You don't have any missteps happening. Now we're going to go to step 5. Step 5 says we're going to press Y equals and arrow up to plot 1 and press enter. Okay, then arrow down to turn on the plot. So I'm going to go to Y equals, arrow up, press enter, and arrow down. Notice how plot 1 is now bolded. That turns on the plot. Yes? Okay. Then step 6 says you're going to press to graph the plot by pressing zoom and then zoom stat. So I'm going to press zoom and I'm going to go down to zoom stat, which is 9. You either can arrow down to 9 and press enter, or you can just press 9. Notice it automatically plots. So when you did your partner activity, discovery activity about you are what you eat, it had you go through where you had to determine the window. Do y'all remember doing that? Okay, this is a shortcut. Did we have to determine the best fit window, or did it do it for us? It did it for us based on our data we put in. Okay. All right. So looking at our graph here, our scatter plot, is a linear regression model going to be the best model? Yes. We see it? All right. So we know that we're going to do a linear regression. So now we're going to go here. So the next group of steps is, how do you get a linear regression? So we're following the steps below. So it says, make sure you have your data in. Is our data in? Yes. Then we need to make sure we're going to go to second mode to return to the calculator page. Anytime you need to get back to a regular screen, you're going to press second mode, and it's going to take you back to your home page, your calculator page. Okay. From the calculator page, we're going to press stat. And we are calculating a linear regression. So we're going to have to go to calc. So we're going to arrow over to calc. And we want a linear regression. So we're going to press 4, or we can arrow down to lin reg ax plus b. What does the A represent? What is our A? And ax plus b, A would be your slope. And our B is our y-intercept. They just don't use M, they use A, okay? All right, so I'm going to press 4. Once here, I'm going to go down to store reg equation, okay? Now, the calculators have been updated and y'all have a newer model, so these steps aren't fully necessary. The shortcut here you learned in your activity, and you're going to press second trace. What that's going to ask you is, where do you want me to graph this at? Not second, I'm sorry, alpha trace. Your teacher made a mistake there. Let me undo it. Second trace is going to take you somewhere weird. So we're going to go back to our mode. We're going to do it again. Stat, calc, 4. There we go. Just redo it. My bad. We need to press alpha. I got to get used to the update. Because back in my day, we had to do this. You had to go vars 1, 1. That was a rule. Vars 1, 1 still works too, if you like vars 1, 1. But you're going to go alpha, trace, and then it's going to say, where do you want this to be plotted? And we want it in Y1. So I'm going to press 1, and it's going to save it to go there. And now you're going to hit calculate. So it tells me, after doing some thinking, that these are the values of my A and my B. So if these are the values of my A and my B, can I write an equation? Yes. So we have Y equals, what is our A? Run around to the nearest hundredth, 1.29x. We have B is negative, so it's going to be minus 21.51. Did we get all the same values? Okay. The reason why we do the store is because now when you click on graph, it's going to automatically graph your line so that you can see that it is a good fit. Okay. If you need me on the calculator, let me know. What I want you to do now is at your table, you're going to answer the 3 questions, part B, C, and D. So on part B, it's asking, what is the slope of the regression line and what does it mean in context of the problem? Okay. So when you're talking about slope, you need to remember that you're describing the change in your Y over the change in your X. Okay. So when you're talking about slope, you're saying this happens and then this happens. Or this happened because this happened, all right? So describing the slope, it gave us our slope value. And it says, what is the dependent variable axis? This is just asking, what is your y-intercept? What is your y-intercept and what does it mean? That's what that's asking you, okay? And then on D, it says, use the equation of the regression line to estimate the wind chill factor for a 32-degree day with a wind speed of 20 miles per hour. Remember, the wind speed is just our condition, right? It is not, but they're saying if this is what it feels like based on our model, what would it actually, if this is the outside temperature, what would it feel like with that wind chill hitting, okay? So they're giving you your X and it's asking what is the Y, okay? So those are your hints to be working on that. While y'all are working on that, I will be coming around helping anyone with the calculator hiccups, okay? So we'll do this. Let's give us 3 minutes. Okay, so slope. In terms of this problem, what was our slope value? 1.29. So that 1.29 represented what? There we go. So it was our change. And what did the Y represent? Wind chill factor. Over our change in air temperature. Does that make sense? So you have a 1.20, well, 1 in 29 hundredths degree change per wind chill per air change. Make sense? And then our y-intercept, what did our y-intercept represent? Well, what was our y-intercept? There you go. So our B value is, so our y-intercept equals negative 21.51 degrees, right? And so that represented when the air temperature when air temp is 0 degrees, right? Then the wind chill is, there we go, negative 21.5, 51 degrees. That's what it's asking, okay? The big part of Algebra 2 is here's your data, tell me what it means. Here's the math, tell me what it means, okay? It's not just calculating, but you need to explain how it's being applied and what it means, okay? All right, what do we get, I'm sorry, for a 32 degree day? And so to get that, what did you do? Plugged it in. That's a 9. So we have 1.29 times 32 minus 21.51, okay? The other thing you could have done is because we created and we stored, you could also have gone to the table. So you could have looked at your table and scrolled down. Does anyone remember from the scavenger hunt how to get the table to where you want it to be? You change the starting point. So you're going to press second window. And if I want to go to 32 instead of being at 0, that's where I change that at. So I change it and it tells me at 32, it's going to be what? 19 and some change, right? Okay. So there's other ways of navigating and using your calculator to its fullest. All right. Okay. So now we're going to transition to the next part. The next part, we do not need a calculator. I don't know why I closed it out, but we don't need our calculator.